basically mask their true grievance, which is the fact that there's some cultural things about this game they don't like. They don't like that there is a Latina woman that is, the protagonist in a Star Wars universe.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is
how
really
dare
weird.
minorities exist in Star Wars?
Which is really weird. It's kind of like the same dudes who are mad that Lucia is one of the protagonists in Grand Theft Auto 6. It's just really weird. Like,
if you see me with the bottle, know I'm wallowing in sorrow. Solid empty bags, so I gotta toe the hollow.
The fictional and anime and gaming channel Spawn Point Sessions. Today for our gaming creator spotlight, we have Malik Forte, aka if you see him on TikTok, the new meta. Welcome to my game room, sir.
Thank you for having me. On TikTok, I'm Malik Forte Win. Malik FTW.
Oh, okay, changed?
TikTok now. Yeah. I had to do some rebranding because TikTok was not playing nice with a name that was closely adjacent to their competitors.
That would make sense, yeah, because Meta is trying to take down TikTok, getting involved in all that government stuff and whatnot. So
yeah, it was somewhere around when the TikTok ban went through. Somewhere around there, I started noticing that my traffic was in the toilet, and I was only getting less than 100 views every video I posted, and I was like, this is not normal. I almost have I have a pretty decent following.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I feel you. Ever since the new algorithm hit, though, I've been my content back when 2020, back when I think around the time me and you first met, my videos were easily hitting at least 1,000 views, which for me was great because I'm a smaller creator, But then after this thing, if I hit 1,000, I'm like, oh my God, I'm blowing up. I don't know. Right. I don't know what's going on with the new algorithm on TikTok, but
right. The way I look at it is I just want my videos to get out to the folks who want to see them.
Exactly. That's where I'm at with it now.
I wasn't really pressed over the views as long as it was getting out to people, and once it started kind of showing that it wasn't, I was like, so I changed my name, and the minute I changed my name, everything went back to normal.
But I've always been Japanimir.
Man, as long as Japan doesn't have any as long as China and Japan are not enemies, then I think you're good.
I don't know, man. They got that crazy history, but anyway, so
into the APAC history.
Exactly. We don't need to do all that. But so I wanted to sit down and I wanted to talk to you because you've been doing this commentating, you've been doing reporting, you've been doing it all in this video game space for over 15 years. I think this is your 16th year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I've been at it for about 16 years, I think. I struggle with this sometimes because I don't know exactly what I would classify as my official entry into the game industry.
I was just about to ask what that would be.
Is it my first paid gig? Because my first paid gig was in 2012? My first paid gig was in 2010.
2010, okay.
I did a lot of pro bono work, though. I was going to conventions and stuff, but I was doing it on my own dime. And for me, I felt like I was a part of the industry. I was taking meetings. I was operating like a game journalist. I just was funding the whole thing on my own. And that was back in 2007, 2006. So, I don't know. I guess I just say 16 years and
I think that's fair. I mean, at the end of the day, if you were actually out there ground level doing it, to me, it doesn't matter how you were doing it. So if you were funding it, you were doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the way I look at it. So I count that. I also noticed that you're also a musician or, you got a musical background in there.
Yeah, well, I went to a performing arts school, so I was just around that scene a lot, and I got musicians in my family, a lot of musicians in my family. But the main thing for me was I was kind of I could play a lot of instruments, but I never really mastered any. My brother was a master is a master pianist.
Oh, that's dope.
He's one of those type of people who can hear something, he can play by ear and make it into and it won't even be exactly what you hear. It'll be some symphony ballad that he's playing or whatever.
Wow, that's crazy.
But yeah, I do have a background producing, writing music. I've done a lot of ghostwriting in the music industry.
Really?
For various artists, yeah. Obviously, I can't say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna see. That's why I asked you if there was things I couldn't talk about. So here we go. We've reached one of those things. I don't blame you on that. I mean, that's cool though, man.
Maybe one day.
Hey, listen. Wait, we already see certain specific rappers taking a big fall, big hits for not being quote unquote like us, and also not writing their own music. So hey. But hey, the way I look at it, having a ghostwriter, some people have the flow, they just can't do the writing. So I don't necessarily see a problem if someone else writes it, if you know how to deliver it, I just say give credit where credit's due. Like, I wouldn't be like, this is my written song. I wouldn't do something like that. But that's dope that you did that, man.
Yeah. Honestly, I just want to say this, too. A lot of the people I wrote for were not rappers. I did ghostwrite for quite a few rappers, but I was mainly ghostwriting for like singers.
Oh wow!
And writing for like R&B artists, pop artists. I've worked in so many different genres.
You've done so much.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
No, you're good.
I kind of let that side of my life though kind of fall in the background because I did run into like a little bit of friction, just negative people.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate situations that got violent.
No, I
just kind of like stepped away from that. So
I feel you 100% on that. My little brother, he's a rapper right now. His name is Remy Rossclot. That's his stage name. And just hanging around with him, helping him with his shows and setting up stuff like that. Even in our own town, it's just like where everybody knows us, we still run into drama akin to what you were just talking about, just because of how like competitive the music industry is, especially on these like ground levels, this underground stuff. So that's really like, hey, I think it's really cool that you've done that. You've also performed your own things too, which I saw. I thought that was pretty cool. I did listen to some of your music. It was very, very much nerdcore. Very much nerdcore. I was like, hey, I kind of like this. It reminded me of like NERD and stuff like that. So I was.
That's my favorite band. NERD is my favorite band.
Literally, the first song, I just literally typed in your name and then it like popped up on Google. I was like, he wrote songs, he rapped, click, and then I was like, this sounds just like NERD. I was like, yeah, they were great. All the girls standing in the line for the bathroom. Like they were killing it. They were killing it.
Oh yeah. Heavy inspiration from NERD for sure.
Yeah, no, I heard it. Like it felt almost like, I don't know. It's like when I write my light novel series Rock Salt, and for some people, so I yell about it every day. So, but like people have told me like they can spot out like, oh man, this feels like I'm reading Outlaw Star, and I'm like, it's my favorite anime. Like that's one of my favorite animes at least. So it's there.
That's dope.
But yeah, so what got you into like the video game space? Like was it a specific game? Like you were a kid and you played and you were like, I need to do this? Like what was it?
I mean, I grew up with games, of course. I think many of us have. It was one of those things with me though, where my mom put the game console in front of me to keep me out of trouble. Single mom hack right there.
Exactly.
And I liked it a lot, so much so that I was interested not just in the games, but how they were made. I started reading a lot of GamePro magazines back in the day, tips and tricks.
I miss GamePro.
EGM, all the good gaming magazines of the old days, and then I slowly but surely, as I learned more about the industry and learned more about how games are made, I was like, I would really like to, I could really see myself on the other side of it. But there was also like, I had like so many different fascinations across gaming. It was not just like the journalism aspect, nor was it just the aspect of seeing, how they were made, but it was also like, I enjoyed the pro gaming scene.
Right.
Like I wanted to get into that. I enjoyed the whole event scene, like seeing E3, back when they did the first one. I don't know if this was the first one. I think it was in Atlanta. That was really cool to me, seeing like there were like events like that. And,
yeah.
Me coming up Cincinnati, Ohio, we really didn't have anything like that in the Cincinnati area. So I was like,
I'd imagine.
I want to tackle one of these areas, and it's funny because I felt like I've touched like every little aspect of the gaming industry and stuff.
You really have.
My career.
Like, Because
collecting the Infinity Stones. So.
Yeah, pretty much like the gauntlet behind you. I see you. I see you. Because like you know, it's like we were talking earlier before we started recording. Like you were one of like the lead people at Nerdist. So like you were out there. You were really out here like doing what a lot of people like just on TikTok and a lot of people on Instagram and all these people like dream of doing. So like how did Nerdist come about? Like.
Yeah, dude, it's a crazy story. I'm gonna try to keep it short because it goes. But I told you at the top of the podcast, I did a lot of work pro bono.
Right.
So the good thing about doing that was a lot of people thought that I was working for somebody when I was really working for myself. But at the same time, I was building quite a portfolio, and I was going to these events, meeting people. One of the events that a lot of gamers really didn't think to touch, but I did because I'm big into tech, was the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And I was there in 2010, top of 2010. And, you know, I actually had like a whole bunch of people who were, because I started my own website and I had a whole bunch of friends who were working on the website with me. We all traveled there to cover the event on our own dime, you know, and we're going around doing interviews. And I ended up meeting this guy named Brian Walton. And I think at the time, Brian is, I don't know what, I think he's working for somebody like CNET or somebody like that. I don't know where he's working, but long story short, we're just like at like a random party at CES in Vegas. He's not even there for gaming. He's there for something else. I'm there for gaming. We hit it off. We find out we're both from Cincinnati, Ohio. We're like, yo, that's so cool. Exchange business cards, follow each other on Facebook. And, you know, I didn't see that guy after that day. He was just a guy I met one day. He was really cool. So anyways, that's in 2010. I go on about my life the next few years. I had my little music industry run a little bit there in between. But in 2013, I met another gaming event. This is like almost 3 years later. Or no, this is actually more than 3 years later from when I met that guy, Brian. I'm at PAX, and Brian is at PAX. But this time he's at PAX with Nerdist. He actually is the editor-in-chief at Nerdist, and he just got appointed by Chris Hardwick as the guy to build the website. Because with Nerdist, Chris Hardwick had the podcast. That was kind of where it started. It was a podcast with him and a couple of his buddies, and it was called the Nerdist Podcast. But there was really nothing else to it. It was just the podcast. And he posted this podcast on a website, and people would come to the website for the podcast, but there was no other content.
Right.
And so he tried to make it a blog. And he had like one guy writing on it, but one guy can only keep a blog up so much. And
Exactly.
and Chris Hardwick had aspirations to turn this thing into like a multi-headed like media empire of some sort. That's what he wanted to do. So he hired Brian as the editor-in-chief to kind of like start with getting the journalism aspect to the site now. And I ran into Brian, and he walks up to me. And mind you, at this particular time, I started working booths at events. It was just kind of my way to like get FaceTime with developers. So like you can go. This is a hack for anybody out there trying to get into the gaming industry.
Hey, we love to hear it. Put us on that game.
If there's a gaming event, you need to search for all the brand ambassador and talent agencies that work these events, because what gaming companies will do is they'll go to like, event teams, and they'll go to like talent agencies and be like, yo, could you find us brand ambassadors to come sit at our booth? And
wow.
A lot of times they'll hire people who just look good and don't know anything about games.
Just because they look good.
And I noticed this, and I was like, I could probably get one of these. I'm not like no model, but I could get one of these jobs because I'm tall, and people for some reason when they see the height, they pay attention to what I say, and I feel like I can find a way in there with some charisma.
Height equals commanding presence.
Yes, exactly. So I ended up getting hired for these jobs. Eventually, I was doing that for a couple years, and eventually they started making me a manager. But long story short, I would get at these booths, and I'd be with all these like people who work for like Ubisoft or work for whatever company, and the developers would be there, and they talk to the other brand ambassadors and to be like whatever. But then they talk to me, and they're like, this guy knows a lot about games. Oh wait, this guy runs that website. It's crazy. So anyways, long story short, I was going around, I was working at all these booths. I'm getting all these FaceTime with these devs. Brian sees me talking to some devs, or he comes up to me. He's like, I've been keeping up with your work for the last 3 years since that one night I met you in Vegas. I got this website called Nerdist. We need somebody to build our gaming brand from the ground up, and I want you to do it. And I said, yeah. And so pretty much after that, I moved to LA not long after that. And then it was kind of like hit the ground running, like first day in there, man. Like I moved there, I was getting paid like a very, very low salary. Like something that it was criminal to be paid in LA, but I did it anyway because it was like, yo, this is an opportunity.
It's your
of a lifetime,
dream, and you're building that.
Building my resume, yeah. And so, yeah, I did that, and then that was kind of where the Nerdist thing started. I got there, I met Dan Casey, who right now is kind of like he's like the main guy there now. Like Dan, everything goes through Dan Casey at Nerdist at this point. And honestly, that dude's like a galaxy brain. He's probably one of the smartest people I ever met in my life. But yeah, Dan Casey was there. He was kind of like overseeing just kind of like all the entertainment. So he kind of dabbled in everything. And then there was this girl named Charlene who was the social media manager. It was me, it was Brian, and it was the four of us in a room basically starting it. And we just kind of sat back, and every month or so, we go to Chris, tell him the report on the traffic, tell him how like the sponsorships are coming in and how like brand deals are doing and stuff. And he greenlight us hiring more people. And we just saw the room grow and grow and grow from those four people until just like, it was like 18 people. And then we had to move offices. And then it was like 100 people working for the company. It just happened so quick. It happened like in the blink of an eye. But yeah, that was pretty much the origin story to like Nerdist, at least from my perspective.
That's so wild. And like that really goes to show like sometimes you really just got to be in the right spot at the right time, and you don't have to wait for that. You literally manufactured the right spot, right time for you. You said, I'm always going to go to these things. Like I'm going to get there somehow, get on these boots, meet these people, and then you just happen to meet the right people. Boom. Like that.
Right.
It does take, it's like, I think they say it takes a little bit of hard work and a lot of luck. You know? A lot of luck,
yeah. Well, yeah, they say luck is what hard work meets opportunity.
Exactly.
So for me, it was just like, I'm going to keep working. And another thing, too, is when you were working those events as what I called a booth bro, when you're working those events, like I paid for my own, I paid to travel to those places, and, you know, I paid for lodging. Sometimes I would like link up with friends and we'd like get rooms together. But I'd be working, so I'd make that money back at the event. So It ended up not really costing me, but it did pay in dividends when it came to networking and experiences. That's why I say it's such a hack and something people should consider if they're really trying to get their foot in the door and shake hands and talk to people. Is look into being a brand ambassador at a gaming event.
Got it.
While they still exist, because now like we're seeing them kind of fall off. E3's gone.
Yep.
PAX, you know, is still around, but PAX is getting kind of different and smaller, and a lot of the events are changing just as the climate of society is changing. So you might want to keep that in mind.
On that though, like on that with the fall, I don't want to say the fall of E3. I don't like that, sounds too epic. But with E3, you know, slowly getting leaving the doors. Like, how do you think that's going to shape the gaming industry as far as like promos and promotions and marketing going forward?
I feel like it won't be as personal as it used to be.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of hurts the connection that gamers have with these moments and these announcements a little more. I don't think it's going to have any like long-term ramifications for gaming as a whole. I just think like from a passion standpoint, from a connection standpoint, like the way we digest advertisements or the way we digest the promotion of games, I feel like now that E3's kind of like dissipating because they haven't really said they're going to not do it ever again, but it doesn't look like they can. I think that's really what's changing. It's just kind of that connection we used to have with promo, because it's different now.
Right.
Now you say a game looks good, everybody thinks you're a shill.
Yeah,
I
knew you were going to bring it up.
This might be a segue of sorts.
So recently on TikTok, you did a review for Star Wars Outlaws, and like it wasn't just you. I think it was you. Nerdstorm did a good review on it. So many people did a good review, and all of you guys got hit with so much hate. People were like, oh, you're just a paid actor. This isn't real. Like, why are you saying it's a good game? This game sucks. The game's not even out yet, and these people haven't even touched it. So how do they know if the game is good or bad? That's why we come to people like you. So, like, how did that, like, when that happened, did you expect that to happen? Like, you did?
I expected some level of it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect it as much. It seemed like some people were actually making multiple accounts and coming
so
back
crazy.
in the new account just to say you're paid again. It felt really deep to people. And you know what? I do want to take some responsibility because I went back and I looked at my video and how I posted it and just kind of how it came out and just the music that I used, and it wasn't like, it didn't really match a lot of the other videos I make. So I could see how some people would have been a little off put by like, doesn't fit the normal tone. Too cheery. It's not like the hip hop vibe that I usually get. It's like this cheery music and stuff. But really, it was just like I just picked a song that was long enough for the entire video because it was a long preview. You know.
Exactly.
So I take a little bit of responsibility there, but my main thought overall on it was just kind of like, damn, this is just kind of where we're at now.
Like, that's so crazy to me. Like,
it's
like we're living in it's like almost like the Twilight Zone. It's like everybody's been complaining about these games that, you know, when we get the preview of them, or not even a preview, but like when we get like the gameplay reveals and things like that, they always look so stale. And then like I think more people were just and like, no, I'm getting my words all twisted. So like we get these like gameplay videos and we see them and it kind of looks stale sometimes. And then on top of that, we then have big AAA titles, or not titles, but companies like Ubisoft going out here doing these weird, almost predatorial type of like microtransactions, subscription pushing, things like that to like have you get the game. So I think everybody is so focused on just that one thing that at this point it doesn't even matter if the games are good anymore.
You're definitely hitting on kind of like my overall thought on it, because it's kind of nuanced, right?
Right.
You said it right there. It's just kind of like Ubisoft has this bad reputation, and people don't really like them for their, you know, anti-consumer practices on how they do their pre-orders and things of that nature. And that's totally, I understand that.
Exactly.
I feel that same way. I don't like the way they gate missions behind.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And stuff like
Especially
that.
at such a high price point. Like, I'm cool with like paying a little extra to get a mission. Like, if the game's coming out and it's, you know, $70 and you're like, hey, $10 more and you can get this secret mission. I'm like, okay, it's just $10, whatever. But like, I don't know, man. It's just $129. Like, that's
it's egregious. It is. No,
that's
it's
insane.
It's egregious, and it's like not even. It's probably low on the list of really bad things that game publishers do across the industry.
Exactly.
It's just Ubisoft has maintained this reputation. I don't know, like, why them and not like a Take-Two.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why them and not like an Activision. But for some reason, Ubisoft gets this like reputation, and that was kind of what I understood. It's nuanced, right? Like, this the reputation that Ubisoft has, but there's a lot of people who are mad about this game not because of that. They're hijacking that lane to basically mask their true grievance, which is the fact that there's some cultural things about this game they don't like. They don't like that there is a Latina woman that is, you know, the protagonist in a Star Wars universe.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is
how
really
dare
weird.
Minorities exist in Star Wars?
Which is really weird. You know, it's kind of like the same dudes who are mad that Lucia is one of the protagonists in Grand Theft Auto 6. It's just really weird. Like, guys, is it really that
It's not even that deep.
There's aliens in this game. There's robots and droids. You know, there's people who are purple and blue. Why does it matter?
And not only that, all of the droids, except, well, even the ones that only do the doo-doo boop boop boop, all of them have their own personalities and can communicate. So now we have a robot that we're talking to in binary and understand that. That's wild. That is like, that's already crazy. So then so why would seeing a woman of color or even like a black dude, why would that be a problem? It just, I don't know.
It adds, well, part of it's because of these grifters, right? There's like people who kind of like rage baiting, and they know that brings them traffic. That's their livelihood, is to find these type of things to platform and to really get like people who are angsty behind them. So I guess overall my thoughts on it is there's just so many things happening in gaming now that promoting a game, whether you're doing it as a content creator or if you're doing it as a company, it doesn't matter. It's always going to be a slippery slope because of all these factors. And it's also the company's fault too, because some of the rollouts are egregious. Like sometimes people are announcing their games like 3-4 years before they should be announcing them, but they're trying to get, their investors and the stock market moving a certain way. So they put the news out there to get people excited. And it's like, don't do that. Don't do that. Cause now you have like set expectations for this to be accessible to people in the very near future when it's not coming for another 3 or 4 years. So there's tons of that. And promotion, game promos and game rollouts, it's a really tough area to navigate as a content creator nowadays. It is.
Oh no, my bad. You can continue.
I just want to say, at the end of the day, my main thing was I put out a review of a 4-hour demo. I know about Ubisoft. I know all these things, but two things can be true. A game can be fun, and Ubisoft can be shitty to customers.
Exactly.
Those two things can be true at the same time. And
I mean, it could be worse. It could be 2K.
Right. It could be the game is shit, and they're being shitty to you. Like,
exactly. But at least we're getting a good game out of it,
Yeah, or at least this 4-hour demo indicated that the game is heading in a good direction, which is what I said.
Exactly.
I played 4 hours. I didn't play the full game. This is not a review. This is my first impression. It gave me a good first impression with the 4 hours I played. Okay, that's
exactly.
it.
And then it's so crazy because then before that, if I remember correctly, before that you did I think 2 or 3 positive videos on Once Human. And did not get nearly half the amount of hate you got for talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like 9 times out of 10, you're gonna hear positive from me because, unless there's a game I'm anticipating, like if Monster Hunter Wilds comes out and by some chance, slim chance, we know it's not gonna be the case.
That's not gonna be bad. There's no way. There's no way.
That game is ass.
It can't be ass. It's impossible.
If it's
Monster Hunter.
Let's just say they tried something new and it didn't stick the landing.
Right.
I'm going to be honest about that because this is a game I've been hyping up myself. Right. So I'm going to be like, yo, nah. It didn't live up to what I thought it was going to be. That's on me. But I feel like for the most part, I don't talk about games I don't like or don't interest me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the weird thing that a lot of people do. Their content is just games they hate and don't like because people love negativity so much they feed off of it. And I don't want to be that guy. I don't ever want to be a person who just shits on stuff or is known for shitting on stuff. So 9 times out of 10, if I play a game and I don't like it, you'll probably hear me say that on stream, but I'm not going to make a video giving the game more attention because I'm unless this is something that we all have a discourse going into, hey, we're going to this is a game we're all going to play. If it's something I'll give you an example. What's the game that came out that I really... Oh, Hogwarts Legacy. There you go. That was a game that came out. I wasn't feeling it.
I feel that.
I didn't make any videos about it after that.
You know what? I really didn't see you make any videos. I made a couple of videos. I'll say with Star Wars Legacy, Hogwarts Legacy, the way they marketed it seemed like it was going to be for an older crowd. And then you got the game, and it was something for literally a 10-year-old. And that's not an insult on the game, but it's that's not what you told us this was going to be. So
yeah,
I do understand the disappointment.
Yeah, I agree with you. Very immature.
Monster Hunter Wilds, though, that focus mode, that's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
I want to see more of it because what they've shown, I'm wondering do you enter the focus mode? I know it's a defensive based thing with the greatsword. They really just keep focusing on this greatsword. Meanwhile, me and Badly, the editor over here, we're sword and shield guys. So I'm sitting here, I'm what can I do with that? Can I punch somebody with the shield? What's going on?
Oh no, the sword and shield has a nice shield bash.
Good.
Its focus attacks are really good too. Really quick focus attack strikes. It's really straightforward. Have you been keeping up with the weapon reveals? They've been revealing one weapon a day for the last week and a half.
The last one I saw was the insect glaive, which is another weapon that I tend to use.
Oh, okay. Oh, you got catching up to do. They done a lot since then. Since the
glaive. Okay, good. I have to check it into it.
So this is what I will say about that. Why everyone should be hyped about the weapon reveals is because we're learning that they're incorporating a lot of what we thought they were going to leave in Monster Hunter Rise. Mm-hmm. They're incorporating in this. And that's super exciting because I thought Monster Hunter Rise was criminally underrated. I actually
haven't played Monster Hunter Rise yet.
I would argue it's one of the best. It's one of the best Monster Hunter
games. Listen, if you're saying it, I'm gonna try it. I'll try it.
And there's a lot of Monster Hunter World people who will fight me for that. But I'm talking just from a gameplay standpoint. Of course, World and Iceborne graphically, they're made for stronger hardware. Exactly. They look way better. But Rise, from a gameplay standpoint, with the wire bugs, is just so much fun.
That did look cool. Being able to control the monsters with it, the
most mobile Monster Hunter game of all time. So I really like Monster Hunter Rise.
I do like that they brought the mount system from that to Wilds. I think that was a really smart move. But when it comes to Monster Hunter, ever since PlayStation 2, you just it's one of those games that I feel like it can't be bad. Even the ones that people didn't like the most, like Monster Hunter Tri. I saw a lot of people didn't really like that one, but I loved the underwater combat. I thought that was so innovative, so different. We don't have stuff like that, and I miss it.
Yeah, the underwater. That's so controversial.
I love the underwater combat, man.
But I mess with it too, man. I just don't bring it up because a lot of my friends will argue with me over that.
Well, you can let them argue. I got you back on it. That shit was fire. I was trying not to curse, but that shit was fire.
Yeah.
But
a lot of stuff from Generations Ultimate too in Wilds. So yeah.
Okay, so I got a question from the editor. With all the headlines that we're seeing with the gaming journalism industry, how do journalists such as yourself adapt to continue to put out content and make a living?
Yeah, man. That's a good question. Great question, because right now that landscape is definitely shifting. I feel like Twitch streamers and content creators are kind of replacing journalists on a lot of fronts. And so if you're not a journalist who's kind of thought about getting out of print, or making a move to camera, or finding a role in consultation, because there's a lot of consultation jobs out there, and a lot of people who want to listen to folks who have a history talking to game developers and covering the industry. But if you can't find a place to pivot, it's gonna be nasty. What we're seeing is a mass consolidation. Ziff Davis, his company, the guy who owns IGN, now owns Eurogamer. Now owns Digital Foundry. Now owns just all, he bought a whole bunch of those he's buying up everything.
Talk about some monopolies
I think they just bought CNET recently too.
He bought CNET?
Yeah.
That's IGN now?
The guy who owns IGN, Ziff Davis, his company.
That's
You can type in Ziff Davis, Ziff Davis. Type that in Google. You're going to see all the companies he owns now.
I'm afraid. That is insane.
Yeah, it's a mass consolidation happening. So it's tough, but I do recommend anybody who's if you have a history in journalism and you have an audience that respects your voice, you should definitely either think about making your own website, find a way to monetize that website, and trying to work with some of the partners that you worked with or that your website worked with while you were there. Once you amass enough of a following, make a pivot into social media content creation. I mean, I chose TikTok. It's been a good lane for me. I don't really get I'm not my platform isn't astronomical as far as when you look at somebody else, it's one of these Twitch streamers. I'm not pulling in what they're pulling in, but I have a really engaged viewership, and a lot of sponsors and people who like want to do brand deals, they like that type of stuff. So those type of opportunities do come in, and I still do. So the thing about me, I was kind of a hybrid. I did my journalism, but then I also did a lot of on-camera stuff. So I've done a lot of hosting work. So I still get a lot of phone calls, and I still get a lot of gig work in that space. And
Right.
I'm able to do all these things, and everything is fine for me. But I'm thinking about those people who just write and stay on the beat. It's just going to be really rough for them to like find their footing here soon. So I hope those people do think about branching out, starting their own websites, trying to team up with some of these other journalists. It's not easy, but it's worthwhile. Maybe start a Patreon. I like what Stephen Totio's doing. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Stephen Totio. He was formerly the editor-in-chief at Kotaku.
Oh, wow. Okay, see, I didn't know that was him, but like I am familiar with Kotaku.
Yeah, he broke off. He went and worked at Axios for a little bit, and now he's kind of doing his own thing called Game File.
Okay.
He has a newsletter that you can subscribe to, and he sends out gaming news on the daily. It's always really in depth, and he gets like scoops. Some of my news comes from Game File. Comes from what he does, because he'll sit down with a developer and have a full-on conversation with them and just get like the best tidbits out of them that we wouldn't get anywhere else.
Okay. I'll have to check him out.
So I feel like taking a route like that could be beneficial to a lot of journalists too. So
I'd agree. I mean,
I'm not a journalist. Think about it.
I'm not a journalist, but I 100% agree with that, because what you've done with like just on TikTok, like I've been following you for a while. We're mutuals and all that. And when you first started, I was like, oh, okay, this guy looks so familiar. I feel like I've seen his face somewhere before. And I'm just watching. In each of your videos, you give us the right amount of information to just get you locked in to like wanna check the game out. Then you sometimes will do your streams like on new releases. I've caught those. I saw you playing Once Human not too long ago. You seem to be really into Once Human. So,
great game.
It is fun. It is fun. I've been playing it. I am a little worried about the reset, but that like you explained that to me on your actual stream. So there's that. But what
they softened that blow a little bit.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, how they softened?
Because now you can transfer your stuff over to the next scenario now.
Wow.
So you just got to do it through their like Eternal Land, which is like their little hub area.
So you got to put everything there and then take everything out.
Yeah, it didn't automatically do it for you. You just got to take it. So.
Oh. Well.
But yeah. Anyway.
I might be back. Are you on the PvP servers or are you on PvE?
I'm on a PvP server right now. I don't know what I'm gonna do for the next scenario, because it's hard keeping up with the sweats, especially when you have like a operation you're running. You have a child, you have work,
yeah,
life. So we'll see.
That makes a lot of sense there. I got a 9-to-5 job I got to do. That's why me and Badley here, the editor, we usually play a lot of games together, and we try to do like PvP server stuff and crafters, but like you said, there's too many sweats. And like there ain't nothing wrong with it. If that's your lane, stay in your lane, Shame on me for trying to impede in the lane, but like it just
shame on you for going outside and making a living.
I know, shame on me for touching grass.
All these other people who are privileged enough to stay in their house and never leave and take showers. And
I wouldn't even say they're privileged, man. Most of these people stay in a basement like with no lights.
Hey.
They probably come outside and they're like, "Oh God, it hurts."
Hey, more power to them, yo. If you're able to pull it off, I got no hate.
Yeah, for sure. Hate. If you can do it, man. Like some of them be pulling off. I be watching some people's PvP clips in that game, and they be working. They be doing their thing. But you mentioned hosting and all of that, and like we were talking about before, I recently on this same channel hosted a Tekken tournament. But you did something that is so difficult to do. You broke from doing local stuff, digital stuff, into the actual main broadcasting space with Blizzard, and like doing Overwatch tournaments, working with BlizzCon. Like, instead of how did that happen? When you got that call, what was going through your mind?
I don't know. Honestly, I was just like locked in, bro. There was nothing on my mind other than let's do it. I'm ready. Let me learn about this game. I'm going to make sure I represent it well. That was it.
That's crazy.
I've been a pro. I played Rainbow Six Vegas.
That's true. You were a pro with Rainbow Six Vegas. Yep.
So I played Rainbow Six Vegas. I knew how that side was. My whole objective for doing anything in esports was to make sure I was telling the player's story as best possible, because they're the focal point. I know how it is to be a player and to not have any of the emphasis put on you, but the emphasis is put everywhere else. So I didn't want to do that. So that was my main thing. When I got the call, I was like, all right, good. This is a W for the players, because I'm gonna be riding for the players like nonstop through this whole process.
That's crazy. I'm definitely gonna have to get with you on that for my Overwatch tournament, because like I don't know jack crap about Overwatch other than it's a hero shooter. That's all I know. But I'm very expressive, so I figure people just want to hear me commentate.
Yeah, I also want to mention Overwatch wasn't the first thing I did with Blizzard. The first thing they ever hired me for was Heroes of the Storm.
You did Heroes of the Storm?
So Heroes of the Storm, they had a launch event at YouTube Space in LA, and I got to host that.
Wow.
And I got to host that because they saw a video I did on Nerdist about the game. They saw I was really excited about it, and so they were like, let's give you an opportunity. So Nerdist led to that whole thing with Blizzard.
I see. That's what I like to see. I like to see another brother just upward momentum, keeping it going. It's already hard enough for us in just the indie space, but in most spaces it's hard. But in this nerd space, like I've been on the internet, and I've been in different group chats and in chat rooms and stuff, forums, all of that, and we really deal with a lot. But for somebody to deal with all of that, break out from that field and actually be in the industry doing it, I know that there was a lot of challenges that you had to face to get there.
Oh yeah.
But I do have before we get too deep on that, I do have a fun question.
Okay.
So we know you sweat for Rainbow Six, so we know that. Is there another game that you are a diehard fan of?
A diehard fan? I mean, outside of Monster Hunter.
Outside of Monster Hunter, we've already covered Monster Hunter.
Yeah, like maybe a throwback or something.
You can whatever comes to your mind.
SOCOM, the whole SOCOM franchise, mainly SOCOM 2. SOCOM 2 was like a pillar for me. I enjoyed SOCOM 3, and I thought Confrontation was okay. SOCOM 4 was ass, but SOCOM 2 is deep in the memory bank, deep in the heart. Definitely shaped me as a gamer in a lot of ways. Was one of my first console online gaming experiences ever. I was playing SOCOM 2 and then Halo, and I think I preferred SOCOM 2. Met some of my best gaming buddies on there who I'm still friends with till this day.
Like to hear that.
SOCOM 2 for sure.
Yeah, I would say for me, a game that other than Monster Hunter, because I also sweat hard for Monster Hunter. I used to, back in high school, I had the PSP, and I had my friend Charles. We would always bring our PSPs to our drama class, and we would just, because we didn't do nothing in that class, like our teacher was so chill, so we would just whip that out and just be the whole time, like for a whole class period, just trying to take down a Yan Kutku. Like that was, like those are the days. But
that's sick.
I would say
I know you were a drama kid.
Yeah, I was. Yes, I did a lot of stage acting in my earlier life, from the age of 5 to about 18. I was doing a lot of stage acting stuff.
Did you ever do Hamlet?
Now I did do some Hamlet, but honestly, I'm not a fan of Shakespeare, to be honest. Shakespeare, and not like in a bad way, not like you know what I'm saying, but like it's overplayed. Everybody does Shakespeare, but one of my things, I did this short play. This was the first one that I ever got like noticed on like a national scale for. I won't say national, but we'll say regional. I was at the state competition, and then we got to our regional competition, and it was this short play called Equilibrium. And Equilibrium was about a group of school kids who were dealing with a racist teacher. And it was like these, this group of like maybe 6 or so white kids who were like, complaining about this racist teacher. And they had that one black girl who was just a part of the group. She was like the token, right? And I played this character named Lamont. And Lamont was like your more, I don't want to say inner city, but he was like more like your hood dude, you know what I mean? So I was playing that, which was very strange for me because at that point in my life, I I was, you think I sound like nerdy now? I was like, yeah, guys, like, yeah. But like, so what I got into that role, I started hanging around a lot of my friends that lived in the hoods, so that I would, be able to pick up mannerisms, certain speech, stuff like that, because I didn't grow up like that. So I literally, and I didn't want to like be a caricature either, you know what I mean? So I wanted to feel real. But we did that on the regional scale, and pretty much Lamont, he comes into the library, and it's called Equilibrium because at the start of it, the temperature in that room is very mild. It's like maybe 72 degrees. But when Lamont gets on the scene, he's like, he comes in through a window, and the window is connected to a table. So I come through this window, stepping on the table, like walking on their homework to get to the books, and I overhear them talking about like the racist teacher and what they're gonna do. And the whole time my character's like, man, y'all ain't about to do shit. Like, y'all just gonna sit here and talk about it. And then, like, it was a really powerful scene to be in because we've seen that. I think almost everybody's experienced that one racist teacher. So, like, it almost was for me, it was for me like it just felt so real to who I was as a person anyway. So, like, yeah, so I did a lot of acting. Nice. I've also done some short films just on the side. Me and the editor actually have one called Epic Sword Showdown, which was, I think it was like it wasn't scripted, so it was improvised, and we were these two undead soldiers that were bound to always fight like once every 5,000 years, and then we ended up getting trapped by a shaman, and so that's where we ended the series. But
where's that viewable?
Honestly, it used to be viewable on Facebook. However, my Facebook got hacked, so I don't know if it's still there, but you could probably find it there. I'm sure someone's screen recorded it to probably try to embarrass me or badly. So
nah, that's dope though, bro. That's yeah. I mean, even following through on your own project is sick to me.
You got to. But like, I've always wanted to be like more involved in like more nerdy things, like just video games, talking about like shows, and media and things like that. So like, TikTok was very influential in that. Like I was sitting on TikTok for a while, for I'll say at least 6 months, just being a fan of people. And I was like, man, I'm hearing bad take after bad take after bad take. I'm just going to get on here and yell at people. That's what I'm going to do. And Japan Amir on TikTok was born.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like,
it's working out. You got my attention.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I'm trying, bro, trying to be like you. As they say.
Nah. Be better. Be better than me. Everybody out there, be better than me.
So with your multifaceted career, like we've talked about reporting, we've talked about hosting, we've talked about reviewing, streaming, all of that, right? From professional gaming to journalism and hosting, how did each of these roles shape your perspective on the gaming community and industry?
I think that the main thing is having so much time around developers, the people that make the games. When you're around them as much as I've been, you start to understand how fragile the game industry is at the end of the day.
That's a good word.
And how much we take for granted that these people work their asses off for us to have good times. Like the hours and hours and hours that you might get out of a game, they've put in 10 times that just to make it.
Exactly.
Like, and I don't know, it just makes you look at games a lot differently. You don't see just games, you see people. Mm-hmm. You don't see just things happening in games, you see ideas. You see people's passion a little more. And I feel like, if anything, working across all these different things have increased my love for gaming, which, everybody says never do your hobby, never make your hobby a job, whatever the saying is, right? And to some degree, that's right. Like, when you work in games and you're a journalist, or you're covering games, there's a way that you can start to hate them, especially if you're covering games you don't like playing.
Exactly.
Which was what happened to me at Nerdist. I was covering like Hannah Montana.
Oh.
Just BS that I didn't want to cover sometimes. But And even when I wasn't writing the reviews, I was delegating it because I was the editor. I had people working. I had like people who I was editing their work. I'd be going through editing and I'd be like, man, I feel bad that I had to play this. But yeah, even with that, like, I just think understanding the ecosystem of gaming a little more, it's made me love it a lot. But also, there's kind of like a curse that comes with that because you're seeing what's happening now and as we move into the future. And I made a video a long time ago. I don't know if you might have seen this one, but I basically talked about how the golden age of gaming is like over.
Yeah,
like,
I did see that video. I think I commented on that, and I was probably like, I agree, like amongst the people being like, I don't know if that's true or not. You might just be projecting.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of people were throwing numbers and saying like it's more popular than it's ever been, and you know, and I'm like,
it's more. That's one thing I don't like about the people, like just the lay person, right? Because they only look at numbers. You see what I'm saying? So when you're only looking at it as numbers, anything can be amazing, right? We could look at numbers and we could say, oh, okay, based on sheer numbers, ants are stronger than a beetle, but like, no, like, you know what I'm saying? Like one beetle could take out an ant. Like, so no, an ant is not, you know what I'm saying? Or they'll like, it's just so crazy. Or they'll say a game that like, I don't know, some game like Bluey, right? I'm not saying Bluey was a bad game, but it's a game generally for children. Like, that's who it's marketed to. And it did really good numbers. Better than some of the AAA titles that we've all been playing. But does that mean it's a better game? Not at all. People got kids. Like, you know, everything's got nuance to it. And I feel like the nuance just gets left when you're not, like you said, a part of the industry.
Right. Yes, definitely. And yeah, it's one of those things, like I said, it's a curse because you see where it's going, you see where things are heading, and you talk to game developers whose minds are twisted, whose mental health is bottomed out.
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting there working crazy hours amidst all these layoffs happening too. So
and then to put out 3 or 4 years of your hard work only to have the entire internet
write you death threats.
Shit on it without even playing it. Just shit on it.
Yeah.
It's like when you have. I'm a bit of an empath. I wouldn't say that like I would say I'm an empath. I definitely am. I definitely can feel other people's pain. So there's partly that. But even when I'm able to float up to my objective mind and look at things, it just is disgusting to see how game developers are treated because they're not just getting it from the fans and the consumers. They're getting it from the people above them, like every direction. To be sent, to be crunched like that when you are the sole reason why we are all here is insane to me. And with that, you know, it just kind of leads to like, I don't know, for me, sometimes I get like really just depressed about it.
I can believe it.
And I try to play. I feel like that's part of the reason why I wanted to make this channel on TikTok, and I wanted to start interfacing with more people because I'm really like low key for the most part. I would say the reason why like I'm not up there as far as popularity goes is because I don't really put myself out as much as a lot of other people do. Mind you, I'm somebody who's been in a public spat with XQC. If I really wanted to just run off of that, I could have. I could have taken that situation and blown it up. As a matter of fact, I had a blueprint for it, and I decided to go a different direction with my life and stuff.
And I mean, I think that, you know, in my opinion, I think that might have been a better choice, like you said, because you are low key. So this way, now you're in control of a lot. You're not necessarily driven by the fan base. You're driven by, like you said, what you want to put out, what games you want to talk about, and that to me seems like way better on your mental health than just getting out here, like you said, talking about games you don't want to talk about, or, you know, interacting with maybe, you know, certain commenters that you don't want to interact with. You have all the control now. So
right.
I think that was, if you ask me, I think that was a brilliant decision.
yeah, and you know, it also comes down to like, what is your purpose here? A lot of people, you know, they're in the gaming industry for money, and you know, that's it. Mm-hmm. And mind you, we all need money to sustain ourselves, right? And so I've been blessed and fortunate to be able to make a career out of this you know, scene, and you know, I will never be dismissive of that or be ungrateful, but also like, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of people just, the passion ain't there. Like the care ain't there, the love ain't there for what this is, what the medium is, what the space is, and that's what I see when people say paid, shill.
Yeah, it's like you guys really just don't get it.
Right. I see the remnants of the industry decaying. I see the remnants of not just the game developers getting tired and their mental health deteriorating, and so games coming out less quality. Not only do I see the greed from the corporate side of gaming, the mass consolidation that's been reckless, I don't just see that. I also see the resourcefulness of consumers deteriorating to where pretty soon a lot of gamers are just going to be able. We're going to get to a point where, the folks like you and me who freely talk about games, it's not going to be any more of us.
Yeah.
Everyone's just going to consume what is fed to them.
Yep.
That is it. That is where we're heading. I don't know if you saw, I posted a video recently this week of the top 10 games across platform. And it was the same damn.
Yep. I saw that video. It was like Call of Duty.
A lot of these people who are in these pockets, and there's no judgment to them, but a lot of people who are in those pockets are the same people who were calling me a paid shill last week.
Exactly.
So I don't really take offense to that type of stuff. Like I was more so just kind of like, damn, this is where we're at, man. Like, it's really we're really getting there.
We're getting to the point where it's kind of like, what's that game? Outer Worlds, right? The whole point of Outer Worlds was capitalism. I got to a certain point to where now you have entire planets that are dedicated to one corporation. We're seeing that happen in the gaming industry. We got all these people who keep begging for new and innovative stuff, but then at the same time, they're up here blowing up Call of Duty that hasn't done anything different in the past 20 years. So, it's just, it just sucks, bro. It just sucks that that's where we're headed. And it's crazy that we're headed that way because all the same people who call you the paid shill or say that I'm just too busy yapping about a game that nobody cares about, all of those people are the same people who complain about games like 2K, NBA 2K, and complain about Call of Duty and complain about all these free-to-play games that just want microtransactions, but then they go and still play those games and give those people money. I remember I did a video, maybe you saw it, it was a while ago, and I was talking about how I essentially said the people who play 2K and hype it up are like the coons of the gaming industry because you guys are hurting us. Like you complain, why aren't they doing new things? If you're giving me millions of dollars a month, more than I would have made on this game in microtransactions, why would I stop? There's no incentive for me to stop at all.
I can't even front, bro. I'm part of that problem too.
Listen, I know. Listen.
I can't even front.
Listen,
I have my reasons. I haven't bought 10K in over a decade, 2K over a decade. So,
but I feel you. And I'm not saying if people play them, playing them is a different story. But to actively throw out thousands of your dollars in VC.
I've never done that.
You see what I'm saying? Those are the people I'm talking about because those are the same people. Those are the same people who are in my I don't know if you saw my videos when Dragon's Dogma came out, because I'm a diehard Dragon's Dogma fan.
Yeah, and going off about the microtransactions.
Yeah, and I saw one dude on TikTok, and it wasn't just him; it was several people, but he was a bigger creator, and I took offense to him pretty much saying oh, this game is just microtransactions. You need to get this in order to do that, and I'm like, your word choice is so bad, and I can tell you have not played this game, and I don't normally go at other creators. But I don't like misinformation. And like you said, I may not be deeply connected in the industry like you are, but I'm also very empathetic. So I know that these people have worked their asses off to bring us this game. We know that Capcom sometimes does some pretty seedy stuff with the microtransactions. No one's denying that. But we also know that the developer, the main guy who made Dragon's Dogma, that is his life. That's what he wanted to. He's been trying to get a Dragon's Dogma 2 for years. Years. Yeah. And he was getting shut down and finally able to get us out this amazing game. And it had a couple of microtransactions in it that I didn't even know they were there. I didn't know they were there until I saw people talking about it. And I was like, what are y'all talking about? I've died countless times in this game. I have so many wake stones. What are we talking about here?
It's the grifters and rage baiters, man.
Bro, it's so crazy. It's so crazy to me that they do it like that. And then they'll be the same ones who actively complain about the state of gaming. So it's like, I feel like if you're going to be a baiter, stay in that lane, but don't complain about the current state when you're part of that problem, when you're doing that. You're putting that content out here. You're putting that into people's minds. And you have hundreds of thousands of followers. Some people have millions of followers and they're doing this stuff. And it's like, you don't think that that's going to actively, like, I just couldn't, I couldn't be that
type of... They don't care about none of that, though. That's the thing. They only care about their bottom line. They're making money. They know this stuff is bringing in the dollars, so they're going to keep doing it. And, you know, there was a point in time where I could have taken that route, you know. There was one time where I did. I found myself descending to that.
Yeah.
It was around time, I think it was Saints Row.
Oh, I love Saints Row. Wait, which Saints Row? Saints Row 2 or Saints Row 1?
The most recent Saints Row.
Oh, you did it for the new Saints Row?
I shit on it. I shit on the game. In a way, I don't typically do that. I'm typically very constructive. Like, if I say a game is bad, I will say why.
Right.
And I will say what they could have done, like offer some constructive criticism to, you know, button it up. I won't just say it's bad, because a lot of people will just say it's bad, but they won't say what they could have done better. You know, I hate that. And I think with Saints Row, I was just like, this trash, it's trash, it's trash. Like, pretty much. And that video did so well, and I was just like, this is so easy. I could do this for like every game, but I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. I will say, though, with the new Saints Row game, I mean, it was low-key kind of trash. For me, at least, you know.
It was.
Because, like, you can ask the editor too. Like, I'm also a huge Saints Row fan. I was always a Saints Row over GTA the minute Saints Row came out. From the first game, I was like, why doesn't the main character talk though? Why doesn't he talk? Then you do that one mission near the end and he finally says something, and it's like just like a basic one-liner. And then you get that amazing story out of Saints Row 2 that, like, out of all of the games, to me, that was the best story. And I loved that world. I loved the idea of having a gang that just was running the city. And then, like, around Saints Row 3, they just got away from that. And it wasn't about the gangs. It was now you're going to become a president. Now you're going to become this. Now you're going to, you know, fight aliens in a weird Matrix-like world where you could be a superhero. It got too ridiculous.
Yeah.
They just lost their roots. And then I feel like they tried to go back to it, but then it was like, I don't want to be a hipster. Like this, I feel like I want to be a banger, bro. Like, what is he talking about? I'm trying to get it out the mud. I ain't trying to go into the mud to then get it out the mud. That's crazy. That's too much work. So I
work twice as hard.
Well, yeah, exactly. Twice as hard to get the same result. Don't make no sense.
Nah, we good on that.
You know, so I don't know. Like, I see all these people working so hard in this gaming industry just to bring us stuff. And I think what really opened my eyes to it all, because I used to be like one of those people. I'm not on no high horse. I used to be like trashing games and stuff like that and trashing developers. But what really did it for me, when I started noticing just like how hard people were working, was when when Anthem came out. I was really excited for Anthem. And you could tell that the people who were working on it at BioWare, you could tell they were working hard. Like, they were really trying to bring us something. And it didn't go the way that we all wanted it to go, you know? And they got so much hate that they tried to even redo it. They tried to redo the entire game.
Yeah.
And I know that they already had spent like 6-7 years on it already, and then they tried to redo the entire thing again to give us what we wanted, and it was just too stressful on those people. And the fact that they tried it a second time, that's when I was like, man, that's some crazy dedication. Like, I would just be crying, and after the first bad launch, I'd have just been crying. I'd have been like, I can't do this again, guys, it's too much. But they said, fuck all that, we're gonna try to give you something, and then BioWare was like, nah. So,
yeah,
but that's what opened my eyes to like how the way that some of these people are treated. So
right, yeah, there's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure
in that seat to deliver, and I mean, I feel like another thing too is a lot of people who are judging these people, like the consumers, they're not creatives.
Exactly.
And if you are somebody who's engaged in the creative process on any front, you know how difficult it could be to then merge that creative process with other people's creative processes. Like when you have a team of creatives trying to all achieve the same vision, very tough. Because creativity will take you to the most tangential place on the planet, to the most tangential place in your brain, and it would be hard to sync up sometimes. So when we see like a game come together beautifully, like a legit meeting of the minds, it's a beautiful thing to check out. And I think a lot of people don't appreciate that because they never really been creative or understood that process, for themselves. So there's that too. But
let's take a little bit.
This is not a game developer glaze session. We just want people to understand that game developers are the reason why we are here. So we need to have an appreciation.
Exactly. Like we wouldn't, and that's what I tell people. Like at the end of the day, you cannot like a game without trashing the developers. You can be like, man, like you said, you can even trash the game, but give some constructive criticism, man. As a fan, like. For example, actually, I don't even have an example, but you could just be like, yeah, I don't like this game. I didn't like this because of X, Y, and Z. But what I would have enjoyed out of it is if I could have maybe created my own character or, maybe had some more open world missions that I could have done, have some more things for me to explore. Like that way they can sit there and they go, oh, well, hey, when we make the second version of this game, we'll add all of that stuff. Like, people complain about developers not adding new things, but then they don't want to interact with these developers. So, like, how are they supposed to add the stuff you want if they don't even know what you want? They're at this point, now they can only work off of what the shareholders want. They can't even go to bat for us and try to put things in games that we want because people will just say it's trash. You can't work with it's trash.
Yeah. I feel like, too, for me, because I do watch other people's gaming content. When it comes to reviews, I tend to lean or to gravitate toward folks who, when I watch their review or their preview or their take on the game, I can't really tell if they think it's good or bad when it's all said and done. Because at the end, they'll be like, play it or don't play it or whatever. They'll say that. But for the most part, they're giving you such a objective, constructive criticism of the game where they're telling you the good things and the bad things. You leave it going like, did they even like it? Like,
did they like the game?
They told me everything they liked and everything they didn't, but I don't know how they felt. I think that's how it should be.
That is how it should be.
I just want to know about the systems. I want to know what you thought was good and bad, and that's it. Don't tell me anything else.
I don't know if you know this creator, but he's pretty well known in the TikTok space, Josh Statics. Those are how his reviews go.
Of course. I know Josh. Yeah.
Love Josh. Josh is great. And that's exactly how his reviews go. And he's even done videos where he's been out like pretty much saying the same thing. He's like, hey guys, I really don't want to do this baiting content stuff. I'm just going to start talking about the games and talk about the actual mechanics in the game. And that's what, as somebody like me who like consumes a lot of y'all's content, that's why I like your content so much. Like if you review a game that may not be my cup of tea, I'm almost willing to try it because it's such an objective like review. It's like right there you get all the good, all the bad, and then all right, hey, now you got to go play it for yourself, figure it out,
Right.
But let's take a positive turn. We got Dragon Age Veilguard? Dragon Age Veilguard coming out. I almost called it Dreadwolf. They should go back to that name in my opinion. But they got those mechanics that they are pulling off, to me makes me feel like they're taking all the best parts of Dragon Age Origins, that like area-based mission stuff where you just kind of go to the area, you can explore the area a little bit, you have your linear story missions, and then they're adding the crazy good combat we got out of, in my opinion, out of Inquisition, or even 2, if you want to say 2 was good. I don't know.
Right.
2 was not my cup of tea. Cool.
I
I love that. I love seeing how dynamic the rogue or the ranger classes look. I love that. I'm a sword and board guy in those games, so I can't wait to get more gameplay videos of sword and board. I can't wait to see that. I love Dragon Age. Dragon Age was, when it first came out and I played through Origins, it did something to me. It reinvigorated my love of RPGs. And since then, every game I've played that's an RPG that's got like swords and shields, it instantly gets compared to Dragon Age. Instantly. And then, also that and Dragon's Dogma. But If it's got a if it's got a deep story, because Dragon's Dogma isn't about the story, it's about doing all the big fights. So if it comes to a story, I always compare it to Dragon Age. How does it stand up? Is it going to give me chills like when I'm hearing them sing, their chantry songs and that like an Inquisition when they're out in the snow, all hope is lost, and then you get like Sister Teresa out here and she's sitting here singing, and you like, oh man, now we got to stop Corypheus, like so I'm really excited to see, and I loved Solus as a character in Inquisition to finally get that story done after all the stuff from the Trespasser DLC. To finally see it, like where we're at now, like in the comp, just everything just looks so amazing about that game.
It does. Yeah, I'm excited, and I'm glad. I'm like you said, I'm glad with the Solus. They're kind of like fleshing that whole situation out, and I see why they changed it. I see why they changed the name. It makes sense because it doesn't look like he's going to be like the focal point of this story. He just kind of triggers. This thing that is going to be the focal point.
Just like he did in Inquisition.
Pretty much. That's what he does, right? Solus is just...
We're going to chop his hands off. He be touching too much stuff.
That guy be going... He's you know what, man? He's definitely one of the probably most likable anti-heroes or likable villains.
I would agree.
Like, what do you call him? Because, he's like Thanos.
Yeah.
Like you kind of there's areas where you could be like, I can kind of
go ahead. Thanos. How I'm feeling now. Go ahead, snap your fingers, man. If I do me some good.
Right. Just spare me and my family when you do.
You know what I'm saying? Just as long as that's good, But so we got that coming out, and that's coming out. Is that coming out this year? That's coming out this year, right?
October 31st, they just announced yesterday, so super excited for that one.
And then right before that, we're getting...
we get Dragon's Dogma and Dragon Age in the same year.
That's what I'm saying. And, I was worried because I think I said it on your on one of your videos. I commented and I was like, I was really hoping they were going to go the open world aspect with the new Dragon Age, but now I'm glad that they didn't, because then it would have definitely been compared to Dragon's Dogma, and that would not have been fair because they're the same genre, but they're not the same type of game. So
definitely not.
So one's character driven, character story driven, the other one is just go out here and hey, we got a basic story, but go kill these giant monsters.
Get powerful, combat level up.
Yeah, exactly. And then right before we get Dragon Age, we're also getting Space Marine 2.
Yeah, Space Marine 2 is looking good. I never played the first one.
Me neither.
It was always one of those games on the 360 that I just was like, this isn't Gears.
Yeah, exactly.
But apparently I missed out because everybody says it's great, and this new one looks awesome. I saw some of the previews. They've been saying nothing but good things about it. So
I feel like it's going back to it's like that retro style of gaming that everybody's been begging for. Like everybody, like we've as influential in at least the Microsoft gaming space as Gears of War was. I was always surprised that we never got a Gears of War like what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like they've misused that IP.
They really did.
As Microsoft has done with many of their gaming IPs, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, we could probably talk for hours on that. Space Marine 2 coming out. I hope that it gets the initial, I'll put it like this, I hope it gets the initial treatment that Helldivers got. I hope the reception is really good. I hope everybody who actually gets their hands on it really enjoys it. But then I hope they do what Helldivers failed to do, and they keep those updates coming good. They actually are not trying to contend and get into frivolous battles with the consumers.
That's where I think folks are going to be off put a little bit.
You think so?
Yeah, because the Helldivers 2 comparisons to Space Marine are a little off. I can understand them from a visual standpoint, especially you're dealing with hordes of aliens. You got this armor, yada yada, right? Mm-hmm. But the stark difference is I don't think Space Marine is intended to be a live service game.
It's not.
They're trying to really tell a story here. There's a beginning and an end to that story, and then there's a horde mode.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas, with Helldivers, I feel like there's an overarching story they're trying to tell, but it kind of just goes depending on what the players do. Which
is cool. That's a very cool system to have.
It's
have
a cool
the players
system.
tell the story. Like I said, I just think I'm sure you saw me blowing up during the whole nerfing debacle and the metagaming stuff. Cause like I've never been like I won't say I've never been. Well, I said never again. I have not really been the most competitive gamer. I do enjoy doing PvP and I do enjoy doing multiplayer. So for me, I've never understood the whole like meta loadout. You have to have this weapon in order to do X, Y, and Z. On Gears of War 3, my favorite Gears game, they had the sawed-off shotgun. And you know, I got rock salt, sawed-off shotgun. I love a good old sawed-off shotgun. I was unbeatable in that, and everybody hated me for it because they're like, you're not using the Nasher, you suck. I'm like, well, clearly I'm better than you because you're using the Nasher and I beat you. So like, what are we talking about here? So since then I've never been like a gotta have the meta type. So I did appreciate when Helldivers snapped back and they were like, okay, yeah, we're gonna fix it. I thought that initially was funny, but now it's getting to the point where it's just kind of overkilling it. I think like the game's getting harder. The weapons are getting a little, you know, weaker and things like that. So it's just kind of not balancing the gameplay process.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they try. It's kind of like what you said, man. It really is going to come down to the community stuff. But sometimes with the community, you gotta like know as a developer when to just like put your foot down, and sometimes you gotta know when to listen. And that first nerf, bro.
Yo, that was hilarious.
That's where they lost me, bro. I was like, y'all nerfed the railgun, bro. I'm mad.
And like the crazy thing is, like you could tell they were being petty because they really didn't have to nerf any gun. They could have just made the enemy stronger. Like they could have just did that, and nobody would have noticed. Like it would have been, you know, hey, why isn't this working? Did it get weaker? No, I'm still doing the same amount of damage. You know. But Malik, man, it's been great. I've been wanting to get up with you and like have this type of discussion for a while now.
We should do this again, bro.
Yeah, man, definitely gonna be more spawn point sessions for sure.
Yeah.
But all right, everybody, from Fictional and Anime and Gaming Channel, we are turning the consoles off, guys. So we will catch you guys later. Thank you so much, Malik, for coming in and being our first gaming creator spotlight. I appreciate you. And